In section 1, we are looking at how genes vary within populations. So genetic variation in a population increase with chance that some individuals will survive. That idea is what's known as genetic drift. Genetic variation leads to a phenotypic variation. So uh, again, those words end up meaning that any variety that you have in a population, you're going to see as traits in that population. So phenotypic variation is necessary for natural selection to occur. If you didn't have any variation in a population, you'd not be able to have organisms survive if anything in their environment changed. So genetic variation is stored in a population's gene pool, and a gene pool is all of uh, alleles that make up a population. So a gene pool, you could be talking about like the gene pool of Lafayette. You could be talking about the gene pool of your family. You could be talking about whatever group. It's all of that population, uh, that population's allele combinations. So allele combinations form when organisms have offspring. So allele frequencies, you'll hear that term. Allele frequencies are referring to uh, the measure of genetic variation. How often does that allele show up? So it's going to measure how common that allele is in a population. And it can be calculated for each allele in a gene pool. And just by looking at a population, you don't know what allele is most common in that population because you may end up seeing the dominant trait more often, but the population could be mostly heterozygous, and then the few that are the recessive in the population uh, end up making the recessive allele more common than the dominant allele. So this is just showing you the calculation of the allele frequencies there. So genetic variation comes with from several different sources. Mutations. They can make a random change in the DNA of a gene. It can form a new allele that can be passed on to the offspring and if it's in the reproductive cells. Recombination of forms new combination of alleles, so that'd be the crossing over that happens in meiosis. Hybridization is the crossing over of two different species and occurs when individuals can't find a mate within their own species, but if they're able to produce fertile offspring, they really are the same species. So that is the end of the notes for section 1.